Happy Thursday, Memorial family. As May draws to a close and summer is just around the corner, it's time for all those summer preparations. Are you getting ready? Are you watching and waiting? Watching and waiting for what, you might well ask? I'll answer that, but wait for it, please, while I preface my answer. When I was a little girl, I was also a Brownie and a Girl Scout. I took earning those badges seriously. I worked especially hard at the first aid badge. Actually, it's the only one I remember working on now. I do remember, though, that Girl Scouts were always supposed to be prepared. I took that seriously, too. So when my friends and I played at fort building, we prepared for defending that fort against all enemies, usually our younger siblings. When we built the fort, we took turns at keeping watch. One never knew when someone's little brother was about to attack the fort. We had to be ready. Now, as an adult and a Floridian, at this time of year, I review hurricane preparations and get ready for the possibility of the worst happening. You, like me, probably have made preparations for hurricanes and life's other potential threats and certainties, like having an emergency fund, an advance directive for your healthcare decisions, and a will. Right now, your church leadership is preparing for how we meet again, but well prepared to protect all of us from this unseen enemy, COVID-19. Jesus, too, talked about being prepared and keeping watch. But Jesus' warnings were not so much about physical threats as they were spiritual threats. And Jesus and his disciples were leaving this magnificent edifice that was the temple in Jerusalem, they remarked about the beauty and magnificence of the place. You and I would probably have agreed and joined in the expressions of admiration. That's the way we are. Nothing wrong with that per se. It's a recognition that we're content to bask in a moment, deluding ourselves that this is the way things will always be. Not Jesus, though. He used that moment of visual pleasure to jolt the disciples' thinking. "Do you see all these great buildings?" said Jesus. "Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." Jesus went on, telling the disciples and us to be prepared, to get ready, to watch. The world will not always be as it is. There's nothing like a pandemic to jolt one into the realization that change is always happening. Nothing stays the same. Jesus, though, had more profound things in mind than even a worldwide pandemic. He had our eternal futures in mind in this lesson on watchfulness. Jesus warns us to be spiritually ready. No one knows the day or the hour, but Jesus can be counted on to tell the truth. And so we know that one day Jesus will come again in the flesh, descending from the clouds this time, ready to make all things new, to bring about a new heaven and a new earth, but not without trials, tribulation, and suffering. Giving new birth is painful, and the ushering in of a new world order will be painful. Jesus warns us, watch. How do we do this? Spiritual preparation means doing what Jesus would do in his physical absence. So that's doing no harm, doing good, loving God, looking after the widows, the orphans, the poor, the stranger, the hungry, sick, and those in prison. Seeking and doing justice for the marginalized and oppressed. Doing and seeking God's will. When you're ready and watchful, you don't have to worry. You can be at peace knowing you are prepared. So what are we waiting and watching for? That possibility that Jesus might come today. You can look for signs. But remember, Jesus warned us that some signs prophets may tell you about may not be real indicators, but rather intended to deceive you. Just don't be caught sleeping. Don't be caught in complacency, thinking I'll get spiritually ready tomorrow, not today. Learn the lessons from Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and from Jesus. Be prepared. Watch.